Tonight on Y News. Holiday travelers face long queues in check-in counters at the NAIA terminals. The military and police are set to maximize visibility through checkpoints in critical areas this long holiday.
Malacanang assures to have concrete measures before implementing projects with Chinese firms with questionable status. Filipino fishermen return to their fishing activities in the Scarborough Shoal without interception.
24 countries and the European Union agree on a historic milestone in creating the world's largest marine park. And Sunday's hard-court battles like David and Goliath as Malacanang Kamao faces defending champion AFP Cavaliers.
Y News begins now.
UNTV News and Rescue Command Center. This is Y News with Angelo Castro III, Gerry Alcantara, and Darlene Basingan.
Good evening. Holiday travelers have started to crowd check-in counters at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport. Aga Kaakbay will tell us why.
Travelers are gradually arriving at the NAIA Terminal 3 to take advantage of their vacation this long holiday. Implementation of the security has been intensified within the airport premises, where each passenger needs to pass a thorough screening and inspection of baggage. A long queue in the check-in counter starts to build up. The Manila International Airport Authority, or the MIAA, estimates that starting tonight, the bustle of passengers going to the provinces is expected to rush in, while others will leave the country for vacation. MIAA advises all passengers who will go to the airport to come earlier than the prescribed time of checking in to prevent heavy traffic around the NAIA. Some passengers also prefer to go to the airport earlier to avoid any inconveniences.
Para po maiwasan yung siksikan din po kasi sobrang daming tao. So crowded, baka mali tayo sa biyahe.
Ang flight kasi mamayang gabi pa kung wala namang hindi pwede na ipagpaliban pa kasi fully book lahat ng airlines.
As of this time, the entire NAIA is in full alert status. The personnel of PNP Aviation Security Command and the airport police are on duty 24/7, and they are not allowed to have their leave of absence until the end of this long holiday. MIAA also ensures that the 4 terminals of the NAIA are prepared for the arrival of the passengers. The management of NAIA once again reiterates to the passengers to take care of their belongings and be alert against criminal elements. Aga Kaakbay, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Araneta bus terminal is expected to be filled to the brim tonight. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
The number of passengers arriving at the Araneta bus terminal is expected to reach up to 7,000. The terminal management, however, assures of sufficient buses because the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, has earlier issued special permits. They also guarantee enough tickets for travelers. Along with this, the Philippine National Police, or PNP, has tightened the security in the area. This morning, NCRPO Chief Oscar Albayalde and Quezon City Police District Director Guillermo Eliazar inspected the area to make sure that all the security guidelines are being observed. The security officers implement strict inspection of the luggage of passengers. The PNP will deploy 7,000 police personnel until November 2.
Sa ating mga commuters, sa ating mga kababayan, if anything na meron silang makita na anything suspicious, whether yung bag or box or any suspicious person, mas magmanda ipagbigay alam kagad natin sa mga pulis na nakatalaga sa mga iba't ibang bus stations o sa iba't ibang mga seaport or airport natin. Huwag gagalawin, stay calm.
The Land Transportation Office is holding several buses that fail their safety standards. One of which is the Silver Star bus because its tires are bald and screws are loose.
Ito nga may violation na, may deficiency siya, walang nut, oh. Dapat may ganda, no? Wala eh. Oh, kita mo. So saka ito, bald na. So ang biyahe nito late ay ang travel time nito, ang kilometers na nito, mga 500 kilometers pa higit eh. Paano patakboy niyan? Di, bigay na ito. Aksidente labas, no?
The Department of Trade and Industry has also issued a notice of violation to some of the stores at the terminal for selling overpriced bottled water. They have asked the stores for explanation since price freeze for basic commodities is still in effect until November 3.
Bahala na kayo sumagot po doon, ano? Kasi hindi talaga yan ang dapat na ginagawa.
Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The armed forces of the Philippines and the Philippine National Police will maximize their presence through checkpoints in critical areas during the long holiday. Brian De Paz will tell us why.
The Philippine Army, Philippine Air Force, and Philippine Navy remain on alert and ready to augment additional troops to support the unified commands of AFP and PNP this long holiday. The AFP and the PNP Joint Task Force will maximize its presence through checkpoints in critical areas. This will be complemented by the deployment of K9 and explosive ordnance disposal teams at possible entry and exit points in urban centers. The Joint Task Force NCR will likewise provide assistance to motorists on major roads, particularly South Luzon Expressway and North Luzon Expressway. Its current peace and development activities will be strengthened to assist citizens, especially in the most visited cemeteries in Metro Manila. They are asking for the public's cooperation in ensuring safety and security during the holiday. Meanwhile, the National Capital Region Police Office remain in full alert.
We are maintaining yung level 3 alert natin, meaning na meron talagang possibility, no? If although wala tayong information, but still we do not discount the possibility na talagang merong mangyayaring terrorist act dito sa Metro Manila, given na yung this is the seat of government.
Brian De Paz, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
A lawmaker files a bill that seeks to offer cheaper alternative funeral services in the country. Nel Maribuhok will tell us why.
Ako, Bicol Party List Representative Rodel Batucabe is pushing a bill that seeks cheaper alternative funeral service to help poor families and prevent congestion in cemeteries. The lawmaker filed House Bill 135 or Accessible Crematories Act. It aims to establish a government-subsidized cremation facility.
Na magkaroon ng bawat distrito ng crematorium na gastos ng gobyerno. Alam po niyo bakit? Napakalaki ang naookupang espasyo ng mga sementeryo.
But according to one funeral service owner, many still prefer the traditional funeral over cremation.
So ang gusto ng mga tao, makaraos sila na maayos naman, maganda naman ang kahinatnan ng paglibing ng kanilang mga mahal sa buhay.
As of now, according to Pablo Alabata, the owner of St. Paul Bernard Memorial Chapel, the funeral services are getting cheaper. The cheapest traditional funeral service cost around 15,000 pesos, 10,000 pesos for the funeral parlor, and 5,000 pesos for the burial in municipal cemetery. Meanwhile, a private crematorium charges almost 17,000 to 30,000 pesos.
So kung pagbabasihan natin yung presyo, mas mahal ang pasunog kaysa ililibing kung ikukumpara natin sa mga public cemetery.
The proposed Accessible Crematories Act is now pending in the House Committee on Social Services for further discussion. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
The Social Security system is preparing for a possible pension increase next year. Ray Pelayo tells us why.
The SSS supports lawmakers in pursuing meaningful pension reforms. SSS Commission Chairperson Amado Valdez says they are focusing on establishing ways on extending the fund life of the agency in case of a pension increase. One of the options is a 500 peso annual increase in pension for 4 consecutive years. This aims to provide a 2,000 peso across-the-board pension increase by 2020. The fund life will last until 2027. Another option is the across-the-board pension increase implemented on a yearly and age group staggered basis in which pensioner will be divided into 5 tranches. The first tranche or 20% are those most senior individuals and persons with disabilities. The SSS Fund Life will last until 2025. They are also studying an option which will set the pension increase into a provident fund that can be withdrawn after 5 years. Some options are still being studied if it will make the fund last longer.
The big factor dito is how we could stretch the fund up to a certain length of time of many years where we have a window to be able to catch up later.
SSS is also pushing for the legislation of mandatory 25 to 30% contribution of pension fund on investments like toll regulatory projects.
So when you pay your toll, you're saying yung 25% babalik sa amin yan. So as long as that road is used, as long as there are fees being collected there, you are ensuring that the working class is participating in the wealth generated by that toll project.
SSS clarifies that they are not inclined to increase the contribution of SSS members. Ray Pilayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Y News will be right back. The 5 Filipino seafarers who were held captive by Somali pirates for more than 4 years are now finally home. Joan Nano is at NAIA Terminal 3. Tell us why live. Go ahead, Joanne.
Good evening, Jago. At past 5 o'clock this afternoon, the Department of Foreign Affairs presented the 5 Filipino seafarers who has been captive by Somali pirates in 2012 in a portion of an ocean in East Africa. The seafarers freed were Arnel Balbero, Elmer Salvador Balbero, Antonio Austero Libres Jr., Edwas Aques Tiningal Jr., and Ferdinand Jacinto Dalit. According to them, they have suffered a lot during the time they were still captive by the Somali pirates. Based on the story of Elmer Balbero, most of the time, the pirates do not give them food and only given 1 liter of water to drink in a day. They were also being forced to work and being threatened if they do not follow their orders. Meanwhile, the Department of Foreign Affairs had promised that they will give 100,000 pesos cash to each family of the said shipment for them to use for their livelihood. The government will also provide free hotel accommodation for them along with their families during their stay here in Manila. The DFA will also shoulder their travel expenses going back to their provinces. It was in March 26, 2012 when the Omani flag fishing vessel Naham 3 was hijacked by the Somali pirates while sailing in an ocean along Seychelles, East Africa. Through continuous negotiation by the international mediators, the 26 captive shipmen, including the said 5 Filipinos, were finally freed. Their families were overcome with emotion as they reunite and finally see each other again after more than 4 years. Shago, the said Filipino seafarers and their families are now in a hotel having a small dinner together with some DFA officials. 4 Cambodian nationals who were also freed from Somali pirates also came with them here in the Philippines, and our government will process their travel documents for their return to their own country. That is the latest live here in NAIA Terminal 3. Back to you, Jago.
Thank you for that report. Joan Nano reporting live from NAIA Terminal 3. President Rodrigo Duterte is confident that the Filipino people will bear the fruits of the government's campaign against corruption in the next 3 years. Victor Cosare will tell us why.
Aside from waging war against illegal drugs, President Rodrigo Duterte has also been launching an anti-corruption campaign. Coming back from his 3-day official visit to Japan, the president again issued a warning against erring government officials.
The one thing that was really, or that is pulling us down until now is graft and corruption. And I would like to announce to all and sundry, I will be harsh. I will be harsh in dealing with people in government or in the private sector, dealing with government in a corrupt way.
However, the chief executive said he cannot do it on his own. He is urging Filipinos who are hoping to experience a better nation to cooperate and join in the fight by reporting irregularities in government and not tolerate it.
If you give in to the demands, you will just create more problems to my country. The slightest whisper even about asking this, asking for that, you report to me. I will, pagka ganon, pag nalaman ko, Bureau of Fisheries, pag may nagreklamo, kunin ko yung papel. Ang Malacanang ang magpaprocess ng papel niya.
The president has instructed the National Bureau of Investigation to do lifestyle checks and investigate corrupt officials in government. President Duterte stresses that if graft and corruption is stopped and the people's money is spent according to its purpose, then Filipinos will feel the improvement in the next 3 years. Also, the country's top executive wants to weed out special privileges being given to the rich people and the oligarchs.
And in the highest levels, yung mga tax exemption that could only be given to the rich and the oligarchs. No special privilege this time. No special privilege.
Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Davao City.
Malacanang assures the public that necessary measures would be employed before implementing projects with questionable Chinese firms. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
The Philippine government clarifies that what was signed during the state visit of President Rodrigo Duterte in China between the Philippine government and the Chinese firms whose integrity is now being questioned was a mere memorandum of understanding. It means these Chinese firms are not yet the final contractors that the government will do business with in implementing huge infrastructure projects in the future.
Those MOUs are simply understandings that they can submit feasibility studies, which will still be subject to public biddings and the necessary processes. So these are not necessarily contracts or commitments to contract.
One of the Chinese firms reported was banned by the World Bank in 2009 due to violation of procurement guidelines, but was chosen to partner with the Basis Conversion and Development Authority in constructing the Bus Rapid Transit System, which will connect the Bonifacio Global City Taguig and the Ninoy Aquino International Airport. The other two Chinese firms chosen to sign the other MOUs are reportedly involved in reclamation activities in the South China Sea. Meanwhile, presidential spokesperson Abella says that the ban of the World Bank over the Chinese firm will be lifted in 2017. However, this does not guarantee that the government will choose these firms as final contractors for the government's upcoming infrastructure projects.
These are also open to others, okay? So there are no hard and fast rules that say yes, we have to accept this particular company.
Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Representatives of Filipino communities in Australia engaged in an important talk today in Toowoomba, Queensland. Kate Alba will tell us why.
The leaders of every Filipino organization in Australia gathered today in Toowoomba, Queensland. This is in line with the Filipino Community Council of Australia or FILCA's celebration of 120 years plus of Filipino settlements in Australia. The gathering aims to discuss how these organizations will be able to help resolve different issues that Filipinos in Australia are facing. The immediate assistance of the group in the times of emergency, such as conducting typhoon relief operation, was primarily consolidated. Every member of Philca hopes that all registered Filipino organizations here in Australia will unite for the welfare of the Filipinos.
One day, our dream is to be unified to each other because there's so many community here in Australia. They are a little bit separated to each other, but then with this kind of conference, we get together, fellowship and having a good time together and understanding what we need during the conference, and also trying to improve the quality life of the Filipino community here in Australia.
Also discussed during the conference were the ways on how to resolve concerns such as the helping of the Filipino skilled workers who lost their job and could not run to anyone for help. Awards are expected to be given during the gala dinner, which will happen on Saturday for the Filipino-Australian achievers, as well as for the 120 presidential awardees and many more. Kate Alba, UNTV News and Rescue, Toowoomba, Australia.
Senator Richard Gordon wants the Philippine National Police to investigate the cases of slain siblings Loren and Petronio Rosales Jr. Joyce Balancho will tell us why.
Senator Richard Gordon is urging the Philippine National Police to make a quick investigation into the deaths of Loren and Petronio Rosales Jr. Just this October, an unidentified suspect killed Petronio Rosales, a lawyer who is pursuing the case of his slain sister Loren. According to Senator Gordon, the police is duty-bound to immediately solve criminal cases. He notes that the report submitted by the Committee on Justice and Human Rights that look into the alleged cases of extrajudicial killings will require the police to conduct immediate investigation and file appropriate cases as soon as possible. But for Senator Antonio Trillanes IV, the committee report will not be substantive because it did not include other cases of extrajudicial killings. He is also dismayed that the Senate already terminated the investigation.
Well, hindi siya pwede because it's a continuing phenomenon, May mga recent cases ulit, may mga hindi pa nga siya na-hear na case. So talagang it's just a whitewash, If not a cover-up altogether para ma-appease yung kanilang political patron na si President Duterte.
Trillanes says the Senate can look into new cases like the death of anti-crime crusader Zenaida Luz in Oriental Mindoro. Reports say that Luz was slain by two masked policemen on board a motorcycle. Trillanes says Gordon should prove his impartiality in dealing with such issues.
Basically, ang Senate, you can investigate anytime you want to. Depende yan sa chairman. Kung yung chairman, ang trabaho lang niya talaga ay pagtakpan yung presidente, wala talagang mangyari.
Senator Laila de Lima agrees to this as well.
Premature naman talaga yung pagkaka-terminate ng proceedings kahit hindi pa nga lahat ng mga CHR witnesses na matagal nang naghintay, nakaabang na tatawagin sila kasi dalawa lang yung na-present so far.
The two senators say they might file a dissenting or a separate report depending on the content of the committee report of Senator Richard Gordon, which is expected to be out on November 7 once the Senate resumes its session. Joyce Balancho, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Another disbarment complaint has been filed against Senator Laila de Lima. Roderick Mendoza will tell us why.
The Volunteers Against Crime and Corruption, together with two former NBI officials, Reynaldo Esmeralda and Ruela Sala, filed a disbarment complaint against Senator Laila de Lima, saying she is no longer fit to be a lawyer. They claim that de Lima violated the lawyer's oath and ethical rules of the profession for having an illicit affair with his former driver, Ronnie Dayan, and for receiving money from drug lords in Bilibid.
May marriage contract po kami pinakita dito na magpapatunay itong si Ronnie Dayan ay kasal pa, hindi pa po hiwalay. As a public servant and a senator at that, bawal po yun, lawyer ka pa naman
The disbarment was anchored on the testimonies from the recent congressional inquiry, which the complainants claim to be sufficient to have de Lima stripped of her license to practice law.
Ma-establish mo lang na meron talagang ginawang mali. Yun na yun,
But de Lima says the obsession of the current administration to pin her down has become ridiculous. Disbarment complaints were also filed against De Lima in 2012 for defying a Supreme Court order to allow former President Gloria Arroyo to travel abroad. But the High Court has not ruled on the cases until now. Roderick Mendoza, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Filipino fishermen have returned to their fishing activities in the Scarborough Shoal and are quite satisfied. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
Okay, no? Pinapayagan na sila dahil narinig ko kanina na open na daw sa puting buhangin daw, Scarborough.
So wala pong insidente ng pagtataboy?
Ay, wala naman.
Kahapon lang kasi kahapon ko lang kausap yung yung taga Mabayo. Na okay na daw.
Filipino fishermen are delighted to hear the news that the Chinese Coast Guard is no longer intercepting the trawlers from Zambales who enter the Scarborough Shoal. Some of the fishermen say they have been entering the area since Wednesday evening. At present, about 8 boats from Subic, Zambales had set to sail to the disputed territory in the West Philippine Sea. The fishermen thanked President Duterte's administration for the dialogue with the Chinese government.
Ay, mas maganda. Mas maraming natutuwa sa mga ganyan. Kasi sa totoo lang talaga, Scarborough, yun talagang namin sa gutom .
President Duterte had announced after returning home from his visit to China that in the coming days, Filipino fishermen will be able to fish at the Scarborough Shoal. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
In line with that report, China announced today that it is communicating with the Philippines over a fishing industry cooperation in the disputed South China Sea after President Rodrigo Duterte's visit to Beijing. Furthermore, China will consider giving Filipino fishermen conditional access to disputed waters in the South China Sea after the presidents from the two countries met in Beijing this week. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Lu Kang confirmed fishing cooperation was already being discussed.
当前中非关系已经进入了全面改善这么一个形势。那么在这样的形势下呢，双方重回协商管控分歧、聚焦合作是完全可能的。杜特尔特总统访华期间呢，中非双方讨论了在南海开展渔业合作，包括渔业产业合作的问题。我能够告诉你的是，双方现在正就此保持着沟通。
Coming up, Japanese students are hospitalized due to suspected food poisoning after arriving home from Vietnam.
24 countries and the European Union agree on a historic milestone in creating the world's largest marine park.
And Sunday's hard-court battle is like David and Goliath as Malacanang Kamao faces defending champion AFP Cavaliers.
More from Y News after this break. Motorists are experiencing moderate to heavy traffic in major thoroughfares in Metro Manila, especially along EDSA. Nel Maribuhok is at EDSA Philam. Tell us why live. Go ahead, Nel.
Diego, ahead of the long weekend, expect huge volumes of vehicles going to North and South Luzon. So, major points of EDSA may experience moderate to heavy traffic. Let's take a look at the traffic situation here in EDSA. Along Quezon Avenue, vehicles are slow-moving, but overpass traffic is light to moderate up to Nia Road. Motorists will experience moderate to heavy traffic in Cubao, particularly in NEPA Q-Mart, Aurora Boulevard, and P. Tuazon intersections. Traffic situation is also moderate up to SM Mega Mall. However, there is heavy traffic in Reliance, Guadalupe, and Kalayaan all the way to Ayala Avenue. Traffic is also heavy in EDSA northbound from Makati and Guadalupe areas. In Pasay, motorists will experience moderate to heavy traffic. Let's check out our live points. In Commonwealth Techno Hub, from Pilcoa to Tandang Sora, vehicles are slow moving up to Tandang Sora, and light traffic situation will start from Evergotesco to Batasan area. Vehicles going to Quezon City Circle will have light traffic situation in that area. They will, however, go slow approaching Elliptical Road. In C5E Rodriguez Pasig, motorists should expect light traffic situation from Libis to Makati, but from Eastwood going to Lanuza, traffic will be moderate to heavy. Traffic will also be light to moderate from Makati to Libis. Approaching Capitol Hills, vehicles are fast moving. In Monumento MacArthur Highway, motorists going to Marulas, Malinta, Valenzuela will experience light traffic situation. And going to EDSA, vehicles are fast moving up to Balintawak, but motorists will experience moderate traffic approaching Kaingin Road. And that is our traffic update here in EDSA. Back to you, Diego.
Thank you for that report, Nel Maribuhok, reporting live from EDSA Philam. Expect cloudy skies in most part of the country this weekend. The Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration, or PAGASA, says the Intertropical Convergence Zone will continue to bring light to moderate rain in Bicol, Calabarzon, Mimaropa, Visayas, and Mindanao. Metro Manila and the rest of the country will have partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers and thunderstorms. No tropical cyclone is expected to affect the country this weekend. The number of individuals tested positive for Zika virus in the Philippines has reached 19. Records of the Department of Health show that 12 of them came from Western Visayas, 3 each from the National Capital Region and Calabarzon, and 1 from Cebu, who is also reportedly pregnant. According to the DOH, they are closely monitoring the condition of the pregnant woman despite not seeing any abnormality in her child based on the last checkup. The Zika virus is dangerous for pregnant women as this might cause their babies a congenital defect called microcephaly.
A children's charity warns of unaccompanied minors sleeping in Cali camp ruins. June Garin tells us why.
Child organizations in the Cali jungle on Thursday, October 27, expressed concern over the fate of unaccompanied minors. This after French authorities claimed that they had finished clearing the shanty town built by migrants who had hoped to cross the Britain but who are now mostly being dispersed around France. A resettlement center that has been sending camp inhabitants onto reception centers across France as part of the shutdown process was closed. Spokeswoman for the Save the Children, Dorothy Sang, says there is confusion and a dangerous situation in the jungle at present.
What is really concerning is it's getting dark, it's really cold, and these children have had enough. Like, they've been waiting months to be put in protective shelter, and now once again we've sat them there. We were asked to encourage them to get on these buses that never materialized.
Sang further explains that the Save the Children had been calling for the demolition not to take place while they could not account for all children.
There were over 1,000 vulnerable, unaccompanied children in the camp, and that's created panic, and that's what you've seen with the fires, and children probably have run away. We just don't know.
Cali Regional Prefect Fabienne Bucchio, however, says all minors had been taken care of during the night. However, she adds that migrants arriving at the jungle since the demolition of the camp began cannot expect to be resettled by the local authorities. At present, the site was already empty and the resettlement of more than 5,000 people was complete. Expectedly, it would be cleared of remaining shelters and debris by Monday of next week. June Garin, UNTV News and Rescue, Paris, France.
Canada says it is optimistic about the trade deal with the European Union. Bianca Quijano tells us why.
Canada expresses optimism in signing a landmark deal with the European Union after Belgium ended a deadlock on its opposition to the free trade deal. Canada said that it remains cautiously optimistic after Belgium agreed to sign the Canada-Europe Trade Agreement, or CETA, after its regional government first opposed the proposal.
Je suis prudemment optimiste. Chat est chaud et craint l'eau froide. Nous espérons que les Européens se sont entendus entre eux parce que le Canada est prêt à signer. Je crois que si la nouvelle que vous annoncez se concrétise, c'est une excellente nouvelle.
Earlier this week, the Belgian Prime Minister discussed the concerns and drew an addendum to its initial decision about the plight of its agricultural sector, although it still needed the approval of all EU states, including Canada. Dion added that there's definitely optimism, but much is still to be seen. France, one of the most vocal proponents of CETA, said that it is delighted about the outcome of Belgium's decision and is ready to move forward once everything is settled. Bianca Quijano, UNTV News and Rescue, Toronto, Canada.
The U.S. Coast Guard brings home a record cocaine haul. James Bantuyan tells us why.
The U.S. Coast Guard on Thursday, October 27th, offloaded in San Diego more than 17 tons of cocaine from drug smugglers on the high seas in what has been a record-breaking year for the agency. Vice Admiral Fred Midget announced at a news conference held aboard the docked cutter Weishi at Naval Base San Diego that the volume is a new record for them.
The crew of Weishi is offloading more than 39,000 pounds of cocaine worth more than $561 million behind me. That's just a small portion of what we've seized in fiscal year 16. This fiscal year, the Coast Guard seized nearly 417,000 pounds of cocaine, which is a new record for us, the most our service has ever stopped.
The U.S. Coast Guard said some 5,600 pounds of the record haul was seized from a semi-submersible vessel on September 6. The Coast Guard said it also detained 585 suspected traffickers during the last fiscal year, which the agency said is also a record for them. The smuggling of cocaine usually runs from Colombia to Mexico or Guatemala, where the cocaine is offloaded for shipment to the United States. James Bontuyan, UNTV News and Rescue, USA.
34 Japanese high school students were hospitalized after arriving home on a Vietnam Airlines flight. The flight took off from Ho Chi Minh and landed at the Narita Airport early this morning. According to reports, a Vietnam Airlines official called the fire department before landing and said there were about 30 people on board who had fallen ill, most likely from food poisoning. There were 200 or 323 people on the flight. 251 of them were high school students on a school trip from Kanagawa Prefecture. The Chiba Prefectural government is still investigating whether they were suffering from food poisoning. The International Whaling Commission votes to strengthen the review process for approving scientific whaling permits. Danny Tixon will tell us why.
The International Whaling Commission passed a resolution on Thursday which aims to strengthen the review process for issuing scientific whaling permits. Since 1986, the global moratorium on whaling has dramatically reduced the number of whales hunted around the world. But Japan has exploited a loophole in the treaty which still allows whales to be killed for scientific purposes. So-called scientific whaling, which saw some 15,000 whales killed by Japanese whalers since the 1986 ban came into force, is allowed by permits, which countries can issue to themselves. But this practice of self-issued permits came under heavy criticism after a 2014 judgment at the International Court of Justice against Japan's whaling in Southern Ocean.
Special permit whaling is squarely this plenary's business. We are deeply disappointed Japan did not afford this commission the opportunity to consider new repay before it issued new special permits and took 333 minke whales from the Southern Ocean in the 2015-16 southern summer.
Lawrenson refers to the new Rep A new scientific program which Japan established in order to issue whalers new permits for the 2015-16 season. Yesterday's resolution proposed by Australia and New Zealand was passed with a majority of votes, It will now subject to scientific whaling permits to more scrutiny and closer examinations by the IWC's working group before coming into force. The group will exclude Japan, but Japan would be allowed to use scientific findings to help argue its cases for permits.
And we'll continue to work to see this outdated practice brought to an end.
The resolution was welcomed by conservationist and environmentalist groups, saying it would allow an independent review with Japan acting only as observer. Danny Tizon, UNTV News and Rescue, Japan.
24 countries and the European Union agree on a historic milestone towards protecting marine diversity. Nina Bascon will tell us why.
We've had a real achievement today. We've created the world's largest marine protected area, and that's a major step forward for marine conservation globally. So it's a wonderful moment.
24 countries in the European Union agree on Friday, October 28, to create the world's largest marine park in the Antarctic Ocean, covering a massive 1.55 million square kilometers or 600,000 square miles of ocean. The Commission for the Conservation of Antarctic Marine Living Resources, meeting in Hobart, Australia, says the Ross Sea Marine Park would be protected from commercial fishing for 35 years. The Ross Sea is seen as one of the world's most ecologically important oceans. The sanctuary will cover more than 12% of the Southern Ocean, which is home to more than 10,000 species, including most of the world's penguins, whales, seabirds, colossal squid, and Antarctic toothfish. Fishing will be banned completely in 1.1 million square kilometer of the Ross Sea, while areas designated as research zones will allow for some fishing for krill and sawfish. Evan Bloom, director at the U.S. Department of State and leader of the U.S. delegation, said it was a wonderful moment and a major step forward for marine conservation globally.
It has to do with the work done by our scientists. Both U.S. and New Zealand scientists have been focusing on the Ross Sea and its unique environment for many, many years.
Scientists and activists describe the agreement as a historic milestone in global efforts to protect marine diversity. It would also allow greater understanding of the impact of climate change. Nina Bascon, UNTV News and Rescue, Brisbane, Australia.
A Sumatran orangutan in Perth, Australia gets the Guinness Book of World Records seal as a birthday present. Carmi Anisito tells us why.
The Guinness Book of World Records has named an orangutan at Perth Zoo as the world's oldest Sumatran orangutan in captivity. Puan celebrated her 60th birthday on Thursday, October 27. Puan was gifted to the zoo in 1968 by the Sultan of Johor, who received some native Australian animals in return.
Yeah, it was quite a long process. It took about 18 months, a lot of research, having to go back through old keeper records, our volunteers' memories, all of that sort of thing. It's been a really tedious process, but we've managed to work out that she's approximately 60 years of age, makes her the oldest Sumatran orangutan in the world.
Perth Zoo is one of the top breeders of orangutans, and Puan was the start of its breeding program and has since become the matriarch of the colony, having 11 children, multiple grandchildren, and great-grandchildren.
She's in very good condition. She looks incredible. She's got an amazing coat. She is a little bit arthritic nowadays, so she does have some arthritis medication at night, but otherwise she's in really good condition. She's doing really well.
Puan celebrated with a birthday breakfast of orangutans from her childhood home in Malaysia. Female orangutans in the wild do not generally live past 50. Thus, Puan's case is considered record-breaking. Carmi Anisito, UNTV News and Rescue, Brisbane, Australia.
The British Royal Air Force Red Arrows joins other world aerobatic teams gathered in China ahead of a big event. Dulce Alarcon will tell us why.
Before the air show getting underway, one of the world's leading aerobatic display teams, the Red Arrows, took to the sky on Thursday afternoon for their first ever display in Zhuhai City in South China's Guangdong province. Showcasing the speed, agility, and precision of the British Royal Air Force, the Red Arrows wowed the audience with all kinds of formations at their first ever display in China. It's the largest overseas deployment for a decade, and the team has been preparing well.
We wanted to produce the very best display that we could. So what you're seeing is the culmination of 18 months hard work to give you a thrilling and exciting display. And you will have noticed for our arrival, we put the red smoke on as a big hello to the people of China, and thank you for welcoming us.
There are more than 120 people in the Royal Air Force aerobatic team, made up of pilots, engineers, and essential support crew. The British government says the colorful, dynamic aerial displays of precision, formation aerobatic are a vivid showcase of British engineering, teamwork, and creativity. While they are in China, they will visit schools and universities, hoping to inspire the next generations of pilots and engineers.
There's an opportunity to get into anything that you enjoy in terms of science or technology.
The Red Arrows will offer 9 displays at the 6-day air show in Zhuhai, and there will be more stunning aerobatics by the teams from China, Russia, and other major countries in front of thousands of spectators. Dulce Alarcon, UNTV News and Rescue, Changchun, China.
Jeffrey Santos and Andrew Schimmer are both excited in their role in Isang Araw, Ikatlong Yugto. Brian Evangelista will tell us why.
Andrew Schimmer, the latest addition to the cast of Isang Araw Ikatlong Yugto, says he has long been waiting to be included in a one-of-a-kind film. That is why he feels honored to be part of Kuya Daniel's advocacy movie as Governor Angelo's son.
Lalo na pagka paulit-ulit yung ginagawa mo, paulit-ulit yung genre, paulit-ulit yung roles. Etong project na to, in fairness, grabe excitement ko. So it's a must na mapanood siya ng tao sa ganitong pagkakataon, sa ganitong sitwasyon ng mundo ngayon.
Veteran actor Jeffrey Santos, who was a part of the second installment of the movie, is now returning as Governor Angelo San Diego. He says Isang Araw the movie has an obvious potential to compete with the movies that are being released inside and outside the country.
Sabi ko, wow, CGIs, and then yung bilis ng editing, cutthroat technology used to edit the movie. Sabi ko, wow, sabi ko, grabe yung budget na ginugol dito ni Kuya Daniel at saka yung dedikasyon ba.
Both actors are thankful for being a part of an advocacy film that has a heart for the audience.
Something new, something different. Yung pag napanood mo, alam mo, hindi ka lang proud na kasama ka or ginawa mo, proud ka na may matututunan yung taong nanonood. May lesson, di ba?
And I was blessed enough na isinama niya ako sa abroad premieres natin like Hong Kong and Singapore. And yung nakita kong reaksyon ng tao, yung pagtanggap sa kanya, if they enjoyed part 2, they will ask for more ng part 3.
Brian Evangelista, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
3 Kazakh athletes lose their medals from the 2012 Olympics. Meanwhile, it's a tight fight for the World Series title as the Cleveland Indians and the Chicago Cubs tie at the top. Aga Kaakbay tells us why.
3 weightlifters from Kazakhstan have been stripped of their golds from the 2012 London Olympics after failing doping tests in the reanalysis of samples according to the International Olympic Committee. The 3 were Sofia Chinchan-Lo in the women's 53 kilograms category, Maya Manesa in the women's 63 kilograms, and Svetlana Podobedova, who competed in the 75 kilograms event. The other 5 athletes were Belarusian weightlifters. All 8 tested positive for turinabol or stanozolo anabolic steroids that boost performances or speed up recovery from injury. The IOC stores samples for a decade to test with newer methods or to analyze performance-enhancing substances that have yet to be identified. Meanwhile, the World Series between the Cleveland Indians and the Chicago Cubs is now progressive, each with 1 win. The Indians struck first in Game 1 on Tuesday, while the Cubs bounced back in Wednesday's Game 2. Tonight's Game 3 will see which side will take the lead in the best-of-7 series. Aga Pakbay, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
UNTV Cup fans, brace yourselves for an action-packed Sunday. Bernard Daddies will tell us why.
La Cuesta fakes.
UNTV Cup Season 3 runner-up Team Malacanang is up and ready to battle two-time champion AFP Cavaliers on the UNTV Cup hardcourt. Kamao has just emerged victorious in a bout against the BFE Firefighters.
So paghahanda rin namin, so alam naman natin galing rin sa pahinga ang AFP. So wala lang kaming iniisip, magpa-practice kami. One game at a time lang kami.
With 3 wins and 0 loss record, the Malacanang players are enjoying high morale now that they have a clean record and are tenacious to win 4 times in a row and if possible, maintain a dentless lead.
Sinabi lang namin, lalo na para kay Presidente to, kaya tayo Kamao. Kaya lang inaano namin sa kanila, samahan namin, talagang maganda na.
Uy, ganda ng flyby. Kanina pa nila ginagawa to. Pasok yan.
On the other hand, although the AFP Cavaliers lost to the BFE Firefighters in their last game, Coach Sonny Manukat is optimistic of the outcome.
Siguro para sa akin, blessing in disguise kasi at least kailangan sa isang team medyo matalo ka rin para maramdaman mo na hindi ka pwedeng mag-overconfident lagi.
Hence for him, this loss should bring about something good within the team.
Sabi ko sa kanila, wake up call sa atin to. Natalo tayo, sana hindi na mangyari ulit. Practice tayo ulit. Balik natin yung winning tradition ng AFP.
That is why the Cavaliers are determined to bounce back and step up their game against the Kamao.
So para sa akin, siguro we'll work hard again. We'll back to the drawing board. Set ulit kami ng practice ulit kami na maayos.
This match is the first between the Malacanang Kamao and the AFP Cavaliers this season. Watch out for an action-packed main game on Sunday, October 30, 5 p.m. at Pasig City Sports Center, to be aired live on UNTV 37 with live streaming via untvweb.com. Bernard Daddies for the UNTV Cup Season 5.
Those are the reasons behind the news. October 28, 2016. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Reasons we delivered to you as they unfold. I'm Gerry Alcantara.
And I'm Darlene Basingan, because we need to know.
We will always ask why. Thank you for watching Why News.